Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Denny Bedard. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Along with her trusted partners, Diane provides complete service for your real estate transaction and brings us guests who provide useful information on industry-related topics and trends. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on News Talk, KGVO.
We sure appreciate you finding time for us on the weekends here at Missoula Real Estate Today. Missoula Real Estate Today. There we go. First-time guest, Sam Oliver, Executive Director, Missoula Housing Authority. Sam, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. We always start with a get acquainted. Sure. What is the Missoula Housing Authority? I guess that's a pretty good place to start. And how does it benefit the community?
Well, you know, the official mission statement-driven answer to that question is that through creative partnerships and innovative development, the Missoula Housing Authority provides quality housing solutions for low and middle-income households in Missoula and the surrounding area. Now, the more practical way to say that is we are one of the biggest and one of the largest landlords in Missoula, and we touch thousands of families here in Missoula.
Your background, what led you to the MHA and how long you've been with them?
I've been with Missoula Housing Authority for almost 12 years now, and I joined on at the time as a construction project manager for a historic remodel project that many of you might remember downtown, the Palace Apartments building.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And so this was something that's a little bit unorthodox for a housing authority to have its own development wing. And through an interesting evolution and through the urging of our board, which had several real estate and housing-minded people on it at the time, they decided to start their own brand to begin developing their properties, and that's where I came on board.
I'm sure this is probably a show in itself, but I'll ask you at least skim the top of the trees here, Sam. What do your duties as executive director include?
Well, I used to have a really narrow focus on the actual boots on the ground construction development minded part of the housing authority. And now as executive director, obviously I have a little more global view, and we are a very, very diverse housing authority. So everything we do rolls up under me. So I am someone who gives advice. I am somebody who markets the wonderful things we do. I engage in following and supporting legislation around housing issues. And yes, it's a like you said, it's a very diverse job, and not always what you expected to do for the day when you come in the morning.
Right. Well, as you alluded to there, the Missoula Housing Authority does own and manage a pretty large number of properties. What is the acquisition process, and how have you grown that over the years?
Well, the Housing Authority was created in 1978 as a nonprofit or public nonprofit organization, and we receive support from the city of Missoula through a cooperation agreement. Now, we have built over the years a very extensive portfolio of properties. And as everybody knows, the real estate market and the market for buildable land has changed tremendously since 1978 in Missoula. So the short answer is Missoula Housing Authority has looked to creative partnerships to really evolve and continue to improve the portfolio. And by that, I mean not just building new buildings on the ground, but one of my personal goals is for all Missoula Housing Authority properties to compete with market rate properties. You should not be able to tell the difference when you drive up in the front. Beautiful properties, and that goes for the ones that we've managed for years and years.
And new ones as well. I know you've got a number of projects. This is an ever-growing, ever-evolving thing, and you've got some in progress right now, right?
Yes, it's an extremely busy year for us. You may have heard of both of our projects here. The first one is a split-site development called the Trinity Apartments. Okay. The various sites have since been renamed, but we call it Trinity Apartments collectively. And that is the large building you may have noticed just to the east of the correction facility on Mullen and Broadway. Right. It's got a lot of yellow.
Yes, it
There's
does.
soon to be some turquoise on there. Okay. And a lot of folks have been asking me what the story with that is. Well, one of the elements of the Trinity Apartments will be a navigation center for homeless folks. And one of our service providers at that facility is All Nations health providers, and they have a very close native connection to the native folks from our area. And curiously, the colors have been picked from a Salish Kootenai color wheel. So when folks are asking me about the colors, we get a wide range of reactions on that site.
Right.
And then from a developer standpoint, it's just fun to see something that's not brown on brown for once. So.
The yellow I did not know about. The turquoise, that I got a little bit familiar with this year, but that's okay. That explains that one. I kind of wanted to ask, but I didn't make note of it there. Yes. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate here on News Talk KGVO, and my guest Sam Oliver, Executive Director of the Missoula Housing Authority. Excuse me. Sam, what are some of the, I assume, many challenges defining and acquiring stable, safe, affordable homes for people?
Well, it's a very complex challenge, as you might imagine, but it's also very simple. In Missoula particularly, it comes down to funding and it comes down to land. And as many people know, Missoula is geographically challenged somewhat when you compare us to someone like Bozeman or Billings that have lots of developable land. Yeah. We have a limited amount of that, and because of that, its value has grown. So again, we will go back to those creative partnerships we have. We find partners who would like to partner. A lot of our projects are low-income tax credit deals, which allows private investors to invest in the project and then receive tax benefit during a fixed period on the back end of the project. So that's how we're able to build projects like the Trinity I mentioned and also the Villaggio apartments.
Right. Well, since we're on a real estate show sponsored by Diane Beck at Windermere, what is the Missoula Housing Authority's relationship with her or with realtors in general? Where might your paths cross?
Because we are normally entering into partnerships with somebody who already has the land, we do not rely on relationships with realtors often. We're very diverse, and we do occasionally. Diane Beck, I've not done work with her in several years, but in prior jobs I've had, I certainly do remember her, and she's been at it a long time. She's on probably the Missoula Mount Rushmore of realtors at this point. So no, very impressive woman with a tremendous background there.
Yeah, I don't know about the Rushmore. I know she's in the 30-plus year club, so that's pretty good.
That should qualify.
Your applicants have a number of resources to help them get started. What is the process like when people reach out to you for assistance?
Well, that's a great question, Denny. Recently, we've just undertaken a major effort to really improve our electronic capabilities. So when people reach out to us, we are efforting now to make the majority of our materials available to them on the website. Our office is available by appointment, but folks can always start at the website. It's a wonderful place that navigates you through our different properties and the different types of properties we manage. And it's a great starting point to look out where you might fit in and make an appointment with one of our staff to sit down and talk with them.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate on News Talk KGVO, and my guest Sam Oliver, Executive Director of the Missoula Housing Authority. I want to talk about some of those programs for which people might be eligible. Sam, let's go ahead and start with subsidized housing.
Yeah, subsidized housing in a nutshell is a program to help folks pay their rent. We have a variety of properties around Missoula, different sizes, different types, different bedroom sizes, and essentially tenants qualify for these properties, and then they pay no more than 30% of their income. They pay 30% of their income, and the rest is subsidized through federal programs.
All right. On to affordable housing and how that might differ from subsidized, since the program would be intended to make housing more affordable, right?
Sure. Denny, the difference between our subsidized housing, as we call it, and our affordable rentals is that in the affordable rentals, families must pay the full rent, but the rents are below the market rate. So in other words, in the subsidized housing, the voucher will see to it that they only pay 30% of their income towards rent, and the voucher pays the rest. In the affordable rentals, these properties here, the rates are set but they're set way below market rate.
Okay, let's move on to your voucher programs.
We have a variety of voucher programs that help a variety of populations in our community. We have everything from HUD VASH vouchers, which are a partnership that we have with the VA to provide housing for veterans. That we provide the housing, and then the VA provides the clinical services that those folks require. We have 66 mainstream vouchers for families with disabled family members. And we have several other programs, the Foster Youth Initiative, which is tied to a housing choice voucher, which provides up to 36 months of housing for youth aging out of foster care.
Right.
Also partners them up with care providers to help them with services they need. And then we have emergency housing vouchers for folks that are chronically homeless and to help them get off the street. Those are those in the HCV vouchers are coordinated through Missoula's coordinated entry system with the city. Okay. So the intake there.
Is that what falls under the category of homeless programs?
Yes. There are certain properties that will also cater to homeless population here. We are one of our elements to the new Trinity Apartments will be a wing called Blue Heron Place, and it will be providing 30 permanent supportive housing units for chronically homeless folks. And again, we're working in connection with Missoula's coordinated entry system to try and take some of our neediest folks off the street, give them housing, and then we're working with local service providers to provide the services necessary to help them live successfully.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate here on News Talk KGVO. And my guest, Sam Oliver, Executive Director of the Missoula Housing Authority. I think Missoula has always been very well known as an open-armed and inviting community. How do you feel the city measures up in terms of being a strong partner for you to help the people you are advocating for?
Well, Denny, we have both at a governmental level with the city of Missoula and then with a wide range of nonprofits that call Missoula home, we have a very unique community. We are known by some of our neighboring cities as, being a very progressive city, offering a lot more, a wider variety of services than are offered in other places in Montana. And I think that's provided a very strong foundation for recognizing and trying to move the needle during this housing crisis we find ourselves in. I feel that our city leaders are doing everything in their power to help both the housing crisis and then the houselessness crisis. Mm-hmm. It's not easy, and it has escalated quicker than anybody could imagine. In speaking with a group recently about Missoula's 10-year plan to end houselessness, that was begun about 10 years ago, and it's been analyzed recently. And the good news is that we hit all the marks. Missoula did everything they set out to do in that 10-year plan to end homelessness. The problem being that because of economic and external factors, those needs just far outpaced what was identified 10 years ago. So we right now have the pieces we need. Again, we're limited on the land and funding, but we have some people working very, very hard in this community, I feel, to help try and evolve with the times to provide good housing solutions.
I guess it's time to ask you to wave the magic wand then, if you could. Where do you see the biggest needs for improvement right now, Sam? If you could change some things, what would they be?
Boy, that is a very, very difficult question. There was a lot of hope in this most recent legislative session that there could be things done to things like creating community land trusts, things like initiating different types of code reform. Unfortunately, a lot of those things were either voted down or are loaded up in a bill right now, and we're kind of waiting to see what comes of that. So the legislative wing was a little bit disappointing, especially with such a large surplus this year. But I think that people need to start looking forward and really forecasting into the future. We have a problem that's not going to be solved by a stopgap measure or a simple tax or a simple maneuvering here. We can see that our communities are needing more and more affordable housing. The striation of folks who can afford a home and who cannot is growing now. There's more have-nots than there have ever been before. So we need to figure out how to stabilize that and return that to something where home ownership is attainable for a wider range of people.
I haven't been up close to it. When I asked you earlier about some of the projects you're currently working on. By the way, my guest is Sam Oliver, Executive Director of the Missoula Housing Authority here on Missoula Real Estate Today, brought to you by Diane Beck of Windermere. There's a project at the end of Scott Street, just basically kind of in the shadow of I-90. I think that's a good enough radio road map. People know what I'm talking about. And at least from the distance I've been, that looks huge. Is that going to put at least a significant bit of a dent into some of the issues you've been talking about?
Yes, Denny, I'm glad we got a chance to circle back here to the Villaggio apartments.
Villaggio, yes. That was
yes, and for anybody who's crested the Scott Street Bridge heading north recently, you'll notice it. It's really changing the skyline there. And we're particularly proud of that project as well. You know, that started as a place where folks on the north side just walked their dogs in the morning to do their business. It was a really discarded, overlooked, tricky piece of land, certainly to put 200 units on.
200, wow.
And so one of the things we're very proud of, and one of the things I want to continue to do when we say we want to analyze the needs of Missoula families, is that at Villaggio and Trinity, we feature a lot of 3 and some 4-bedroom apartments. So we're realizing that single-family rentals and mobile home opportunities are really not attainable opportunities any longer. That historically, that's what happened when your family got too big for an apartment. So we are looking forward, and we're designing with an eye towards growing families and the growing need of families who will need rental properties. But no, the Villaggio is 2 buildings. It's 200 units. Both of those buildings are built above post-tension slabs that allow for underground parking. So again, a very tricky piece of property there, and one of the trickiest parts about development is where to park cars. So,
sure.
Yeah, that was an added benefit. And I should mention again, Villaggio would not have been possible without a very important partnership here with the city of Missoula, specifically the redevelopment, MRA, Missoula Redevelopment Authority. They helped us pay for the steel sheet pile retaining wall on the east side of the project. And again, that project is such a small, has such a small footprint for 2 large buildings that without that retaining wall, we would have lost approximately 22 to 24 units. And at that point, the project no longer becomes economically viable when you put it into a pro forma. So MRA was crucial into helping us make this
Good
work.
for them. Completion date, are you full? Is there a waiting list already? Where are you at?
Well, we just had our first building, which we're referring to as Building A there on the western side of the project, turned over to us. And if you drive by, you'll start to notice some demobilization. Dick Anderson Construction is our contractor there, and they've demobilized their yard and moved the fencing over to the second building. So we've been given 100 units right now to lease up. And we've moved our first family in 2 days ago. And so we are anxiously looking to fill that building. Ideally, we would love to have the first 100 filled up before the second 100 come online at the end of August with Building B. But we have a very, very vibrant waiting list, hundreds of people on both projects, so we don't anticipate that being a problem.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate here on News Talk KGVO. My guest, Sam Oliver, Executive Director of the Missoula Housing Authority. Also want to say thanks to a couple of Diane's marketing partners that help bring you the program every week. Miles Link at Opportunity Bank of Montana and Rob Fleming with Man Mortgage. Back to Sam Oliver with the Missoula Housing Authority. Now, I was obviously snooping around your website a little bit, Sam. You work with many, and I assume you're always trying to recruit more landlords. Can you talk about how your relationship with them works, and what is your pitch to sell them on the benefits of partnering with the Missoula Housing Authority?
Well, Denny, one of the historic benefits has been just stability and continuity. We have many families, like I said, who are members of our community that do not move. And it's wonderful from a landlord standpoint to be able to partner with us and have a role in keeping things affordable in Missoula. And so we have had that historic benefit of being a very stable entity that's able to fill a rental unit and keep it full in times of any sort of vacancy. But that's turned around to be a double-edged sword, and that's a trick now. We're really actively trying to work with landlords. We have a landlord section on our website that describes what it takes to get signed up with us, and there are many benefits. But right now, again, there are challenges in Missoula.
Sure.
You can rent pretty much anything that you have vacant, and you can name your price. And a lot of private landlords have been tempted to go into the VRBO market, and so we've seen a lot of things again shift and evolve in our Missoula community.
And you also have a pretty big staff, including an action videographer that we have here in the studio today. Talk about some of your departments and what some of their duties involve.
I would love to talk about my
time.
staff. Yeah, no, I have a extremely hardworking, diverse staff. Again, one of the nature of the beast, where and the kind of work we do is we are chronically trying to do more with less, and we've moved up over 40 employees now.
Gee.
We have a maintenance staff that oversees our properties. They are over a dozen strong.
And they work for you. They're not contract labor. That's part of your team.
No, they're absolutely part of the MHA
smoke.
team. And so some of those maintenance folks are addressed to a property-specific job. And then we have some that float around and help out where needed in some of our scattered site properties. So we have our maintenance department, we have our voucher department, we have our assets and property management department, we have a finance department, and then we also have a lot of satellite folks working in a couple of different grant programs, family self-sufficiency, and so at the end of the day, the Housing Authority, though, is a business. We are, like I said, a landlord. We're very diverse, but our finance department is where a lot of it happens, whether it be keeping the lights on and keeping this beast rolling on a day-to-day basis, or analyzing how we might do different development and different rehab projects coming up on the horizon.
May I ask you at least the base how you're funded?
Yes, we are funded. Again, we are a pseudo governmental agency, and we work under cooperation with the city of Missoula.
Yeah.
And we are funded through a lot of federal programs, through our voucher programs.
Okay, there we go.
And then also the cash flow, obviously, of our properties.
Yeah.
We are running a business, and so we support ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah, you made a great point about that. Is that you are got a much better understanding of that. Thank you. Your relationships with the people you house through your programs, does it end once they are housed, or do you stay in contact? And if you do, what would some of the reasons be to keep those lines of communication open?
Oh, no, absolutely, Denny. once folks are housed in our properties, we have virtually a day-to-day relationship with them. Our on-site staff, whether it be maintenance or the property managers on some of these properties, you may bump into them on a daily basis. Most of them have open office or office hours where you could stop in and visit about them with an issue we're having or file a work order. And so, again, they're welcoming our staff into their homes anytime that, we need to change a smoke detector or the unit above them had a leak and there's a stain on the sheetrock. We're invited into the home and we see them as almost extended family. It's one of the most rewarding things and one of the reasons we do this job. And to get back to my staff and just bragging about them, we have tremendous retention and a ton of institutional knowledge. I believe in the top 10 folks in our organization, there was a combined 330 years experience in housing. So we
sort of the Mount Rushmore of housing authority there, aren't you, Sam?
Yes, we are.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. My guest, Sam Oliver, Executive Director, Missoula Housing Authority. This caught my eye. Your family self-sufficiency program. That sounds really interesting. Can you go into a little detail on what that's about?
Yes, this is a program that supports and encourages families to obtain employment and be free from government assistance within 5 years. As their income increases, the additional rent they pay is put into escrow, and once they complete the program, they receive these funds back. We were one of the first housing authorities to start this program in 1992. And in 2022, there were over 175 households served with support and referrals from MHA's 3 coordinators.
All right. You've already given some examples of this, but I ask every single one of my guests about success stories. Any recent accomplishments with the Missoula Housing Authority that have been especially rewarding for you, Sam?
That's an easy question, Denny. We always have a lot to brag about, and this year again, it's probably the biggest thing is the $120+ million worth of development that we're putting on the ground. We're putting 400 units on the ground between Trinity and Bellagio. We're really anxious to see. We're hoping that helps Missoula move the needle a little bit. It's certainly going to be 400 very happy families to move into a brand new apartment. And we've been seeing that as we move folks in. But then also we're very proud of this evolving relationship that we're building again with the city and with local care providers to help address some of the issues around houselessness at Trinity. This is not just an apartment building for one demographic. It is one that is serving our workforce on one half of the campus, and on the other half of the campus, we're looking to really help lift up other members of our community.
My guest this week on Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate on News Talk KGVO, Sam Oliver, Executive Director of the Missoula Housing Authority. Anything I missed, Sam, that you wanted to touch on before I let you go?
No, I thank you and Diane Beck at Windermere Real Estate for having me today. Again, I appreciate the time to brag about my staff and let the community know what the Housing Authority does. I would really encourage everybody to check out our new website. Yes. There's a lot packed in there, but then thank you very much.
Okay, any other contact info? The web address? Do we? Yeah, it's probably easy to do.
Yes, MissoulaHousing.com and .org. Pardon me, and
MissoulaHousing.org.
Yep, you will find our everything I just talked about on the website and more.
Excellent. Sam Oliver, Executive Director, Missoula Housing Authority, on this week's Missoula Real Estate Today. Great job. I'm glad you could stop by, Sam.
Thanks again.
Thank you for listening to Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. For a complete directory of Diane's listings, visit move2missoula.com. That's move2missoula.com. We'll see you next time on Missoula Real Estate Today.